Coming up on 5 Minute News. Insurrection probe deepens as panel awaits Ginni Thomas. Ukrainian port hit by Russia despite grain agreement. And extreme heat in northeast to move west as Yosemite burns. It's Monday, July 25. I'm Anthony Davis. The committee investigating the January 6 insurrection said on Sunday it will interview more former cabinet secretaries and is prepared to subpoena conservative activist Virginia Ginni Thomas, who is married to the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, as part of its investigation of the Capitol riot and Donald Trump's role. The committee has aired testimony from former Attorney General William Barr, who said he told Trump that widespread voter fraud claims were bullshit and had zero basis. In last week's hearing, the committee played testimony from then Labour Secretary Eugene Scalia, who said he urged Trump to call a cabinet meeting to discuss an orderly transition of power. Other cabinet members have indicated they may have important details to share. Betsy DeVos, the education secretary at the time, previously told USA Today that she raised with Vice President Mike Pence the question of whether the cabinet should consider invoking the 25th Amendment, which would have required the vice president and the majority of the cabinet to agree that the president could no longer fulfill his duties. On the same day, Elaine Chao quit as Transportation Secretary. Chao, who is married to Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, said the attack had deeply troubled me in a way that I simply cannot set aside. The committee also wants to get to the bottom of missing Secret Service texts from January 5th and 6th that could shed further light on Trump's actions during the insurrection, particularly after earlier testimony about his confrontation with security as he tried to join supporters rioting at the Capitol. Russian defense officials insisted on Sunday that an airstrike on the Ukrainian port of Odessa hit only military targets, but the attack tested an agreement on resuming grain shipments that the two countries signed less than a day before the assault. Long-range missiles destroyed a docked Ukrainian warship and a warehouse holding Harpoon anti-ship missiles supplied by the US, the Defense Ministry spokesman said at a daily briefing. Speaking late on Saturday in his nightly televised address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack on Odessa destroyed the very possibility of dialogue with Russia. Under the grain shipment agreement, both Kiev and Moscow agreed not to target vessels and port facilities involved in the initiative. The Ukrainian military said the attack involved 4 cruise missiles, 2 of which were shot down by Ukrainian air defenses. It was not immediately clear how the airstrike would affect plans to resume shipping Ukrainian grain by sea in safe corridors out of the ports. Russia and Ukraine on Friday signed identical agreements with the United Nations and Turkey in Istanbul, aimed at clearing the way for the shipment of millions of tons of desperately needed Ukrainian grain, as well as the export of Russian grain and fertilizer. From the Pacific Northwest to the southern Great Plains to the heavily populated Interstate 95 corridor, more than 85 million Americans were under excessive heat warnings or heat advisories issued by the National Weather Service. The agency warned of extremely oppressive conditions from Washington to Boston. Philadelphia hit 99 degrees on Sunday before even factoring in humidity. Newark, New Jersey saw its 5th consecutive day of 100 degrees or higher, the longest such streak since records began in 1931. Boston also hit 100 degrees, surpassing the previous daily record of 98 degrees set in 1933. At least 2 heat-related deaths have been reported in the Northeast, with officials warning of the potential for more. Forecasters urged people to wear light clothing, drink lots of water, limit time outside, and check on elderly people and pets. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu declared a heat emergency through Monday and kept a dozen cooling centers open. On the West Coast, forecasters warned of extreme heat arriving early this week and lingering until the weekend. Temperatures could break daily records in Seattle, Portland, and Northern California by tomorrow and climb to the highest level since a heat wave last year that killed hundreds of people across the Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, a destructive wildfire near Yosemite National Park burned out of control through tinder dry forest on Sunday and had grown into one of California's biggest blazes of the year, forcing thousands of residents to flee remote mountain communities. The flames made runs through bone-dry vegetation caused by the worst drought in decades, as years of unregulated carbon emissions have caused the planet to heat, causing the existential climate emergency. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.